Wednesday here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. I want to talk about that Steelers defensive front that stood up in a big way. And to do that, we got a former member of that Steelers defensive front. Arthur Moats makes his return to the Locked On Steelers podcast. It's going to be a fun episode. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Steelers, your daily Pittsburgh Steelers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Steelers podcast.
I'm your host, Chris Carter, bringing you a daily dose of all things the Pittsburgh Steelers. As always, you can find this show on your favorite podcasting apps and on YouTube. But like this video if you enjoyed. Subscribe to this YouTube channel to get all of your daily Monday through Friday episodes, as well as our bonus content. Thank you for making us your first listen every day, because we're your team every day. And today's episode, as always, is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is now the #1 sports podcasting network. Today's episode is also brought to you by Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app, use code LOCKEDONNFL, and you'll get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. As I said before, we're joined by the man himself, Arthur Moats, the body.
First off, man, appreciate you having me on the show, man. Always a pleasure to be back. And I got a complaint early.
Oh, what's the complaint?
It's been too long since you've had me on the show. When you used to do the intro, you used to tell me I'm in the shadow realm. I used to hear Miles Davis playing. Now you just throw me in the back, put the hip hop. I said, I get it. It's because you got the fire questions for Coach T, and now you're getting all that spotlight on you, man. I see what's going on here. All right.
You are silly, sir. It is none of that. You know, we got new platforms. We got to do stuff. We got to do to the producers. Be like, hey, Chris, make sure you. So we get it. But we are always happy to have Arthur Moats on. Sorry, we haven't had you on sooner. But
I thought you ain't like me or something, man. I was like, come on, man. All this history we have. Come on, man.
None of that. It's just when you get into the season, you know the grind, and you just
already.
You just keep it going. But I want to talk about the grind the defense has been on, because this defense started off the year. A lot of people, Mike Tomlin said it could be historic, and then when it wasn't, a lot of flack was thrown their way. Oh man, this defense stinks. And listen, they weren't playing well at one point. They
absolutely
the most passing yards in the NFL through 8 games or through 8 weeks, and it was looking kind of rough. But they've at least been able to pull their way up the ranks a little bit. Now, a lot of that's been thanks to some of the improvements that we've seen. They now rank 17th as a scoring defense. They're still down low in the yards category, but they're doing a much better job stopping the run. They're back there at least up to the middle of the field week to week. What have you seen that has helped this run defense and this defense in general improve, especially in this 3-game win streak they're on?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny when Coach Tomlin came out and said historic.
Yeah.
You oversold. You set an expectation that was crazy, but something that we were all going to be, shooting for when you thought about the highest paid element. But to me, I thought it was a couple of things that, led to them struggling, and then that has led to them playing as well they've played these past 3 games. Now, Derrick Harmon, when he's been healthy and in the lineup, you see his impact. That was evident this past game. I thought that he has been one of the bigger indicators in terms of when he's out there, everybody in that front and linebackers included play a lot better because of just how productive he is. He's a first-round talent for a reason, but you watch how he plays with hat and hands, good pad level. It looks very Cam Hayward-esque, except he's a lot more athletic at this stage of his career. So those are things that I feel like have definitely helped. The other thing is this, though. When, this team plays completely together. And what I mean by that is the guys up front stay gap sound. The linebackers, they're not looking for ghosts, right? Our outside pass rushers are actually playing the run and not trying to get a sack every single play. Right. You get what we call hard edges on this defense. And now you make teams have to fight you a little bit more in a phone booth in comparison to what you saw versus the Bills, where it's a lot more space runs. And now that ball is sitting on those corners or the safeties in space, and it makes it just a lot more challenging to stop. It's nothing schematically to me that has been an overhaul. It's just guys are actually playing more fundamentally sound right now. And some of that is due to how loud it got. That Bills game, regardless of what the fans were saying, it was loud in the sense of the performance. When you look at them being able to run the same play over and over and over, and then statistically have those numbers reflect that as well from a historical standpoint, all those guys defensively, if you had pride, you're pissed off. If you have pride, you're going to respond a certain way. And knowing Coach Tomlin, he wasn't going to allow that to continue either. So to me, when I look at, that part of it, along with Derrick Harmon and along with guys just being more fundamentally sound, getting back to the basics of it, that to me has been some of the bigger reasons, because let's be real, the Lions, they don't have a weak or below the line rushing attack. The Miami Dolphins with Devon Achane, who we just saw get voted into the Pro Bowl, he's not below the line. He's not JV. We know what Derrick, a.k.a. King Henry, is, especially when the Ravens actually give him the football. We know how good he could be when they actually put him in the game, right? You never know. Sometimes they take him out. That typically doesn't happen with us. So those are some of the things to me that have been a big reason of why down this 3-game stretch that we've been looking the way that we've looked versus the run.
I think you've also seen the Steelers see a lot of young guys step up, because one thing I noticed, and I asked Mike Tomlin about it, we'll get that in that clip in a second here, was we've seen time and time again this year where people try to come at Cam Hayward when the run defense was an issue. I'd look back and I'd look at the film and say, Cam Hayward wasn't the problem. That guy, they ran away from him, and it was the fact that Keeanu Benton couldn't hold his gap, Derrick Harmon couldn't hold his gap, Yahya Black couldn't hold his gap, or a linebacker didn't fill. But in this game, that wasn't the case, and especially the guys up front, the young defensive linemen really stepped up, including Jack Sawyer, who made his first NFL start. I got to ask Mike Tomlin about all those guys. Here was his reactions to those questions, and I want to get Moats' thoughts on it afterwards. But here was Mike Tomlin during his Tuesday press conference.
Like, teams have made it a point to run away from Cam Hayward a lot this season, and in this game when they did it, it seemed like your guys really stepped up. Keeanu Benton, Derrick Harmon. What have you seen from their efforts to improve in the run defense, and where are they at in that effort?
I've read some of the narrative about Derrick Harmon and his run game exploits, and so I'm not going to do anything to diminish that. Maybe he is just the monster that the narrative says he is.
How have you seen Jack Sawyer pitch into the collective on defense, especially this being his first start and the effort that he put in the run defense?
When given an opportunity, man, Jack continues to prove that he belongs. But that's what we loved about his profile, to be quite honest with you. He's not a guy that runs from it. He's a guy that runs to it. He's got unbelievable belief in self for a young guy. He's made some plays already. He had a sack going into the game, an interception. He makes a lot of plays on special teams, and oftentimes a young guy that's not getting a lot of defensive opportunity, that's the first space that they show their capabilities, and he's done that. And so I don't think any of us are surprised by his willingness and ability to be a positive contributor to us. Just that's what we expect from him.
How do you feel about the collective of young players that you guys have been amassing on defense? Guys like Keeanu in his third year, Jack as a rookie, Harmon as a rookie, Black as a rookie. Just, you guys seem to have a lot of young guys that are pitching in and learning how to fit in.
It's been needed, particularly up front, as I mentioned. We've absorbed a lot of attrition during the course of this thing. Dean Lowry, Dan, Loudermilk. One man's misfortune is another guy's opportunity, and I think we did the right thing, man, fortifying depth with those bigs dating back to last spring, acquiring those two young men via the draft, and to go along with Jack Sawyer, it's certainly been needed.
Now, Arthur, the reason I thought it would also be, this is perfect timing. I didn't plan this all the way out when we.
Yeah, you did. Yes, don't you discredit yourself? You had this thing schemed up the whole time, man. Yeah, you did.
But you joined the Steelers in 2014. You were 26 years old. You were part of their efforts to replenish their defensive front in 2014. The Steelers were revamping the defense in many ways. They ranked 18th in scoring, 18th in yards, which was a big break from where they had been. In the previous. In the first several years of Tomlin, they were either number one in yards allowed or points allowed as a total defense in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of those first 6 or 7 seasons. And then obviously there needed to be a rebuild, but you were part of that rebuild. But you also saw young guys come in around you that helped replenish things. Ryan Shazier in 2014, along with Stephon Tuitt. You saw Bud Dupree in 2015 get brought in. You saw Javon Hargrave in 2016, and of course 2017, TJ Watt, being the kind of the big piece that was thrown in there. But you saw the youth movement that the Steelers needed to invest. That eventually ended up. The defense didn't become elite right away, but then. Right. in
They became pieces for it, though. Absolutely.
Exactly. What do you see from this group, if anything, that reminds you of the things that you liked about how you guys were forming that in the mid 2010s?
Yeah, well, the thing that I thought of back then that I see in terms of the similarities now are the fact that those younger players are being productive early on. They're thrusted into the action. We talked about Ryan Shazier. The thing that made Shazier so unique was he was starting as a rookie day one. Well, what did we say about Derrick Harmon? When he's been healthy, he's been starting as a rookie day one, a guy that we've leaned on a lot. When you talk about Javon Hargrave, when you talk about Stephon Tuitt, they were all guys that contributed early as rookies. They didn't wait till week 10, week 12. So when you think of Jack Sawyer, well, shoot, we've seen him plenty of times on special teams, yes. But as you heard Coach Tomlin saying, we've already witnessed it. Interception, sack prior to this game. Shoot, was it the first two series he gets a tackle for loss? That's the 5 stars Coach Tomlin likes to say. The sun is always shining on 5 stars. He is a guy that the moment isn't too big for. And you can just tell, even as a younger player, he plays with a lot of confidence. And that's why I like watching his game. But he still understands the basic fundamentals of defense, which is you have to stop the run first.
Yes.
So he is still more of a run first, physical, let me do that job and then get to that quarterback. But to see him still have a high ability and understanding even now of when to convert, when to go from stopping the run to now, let me convert this into a pass rush. And he has the athleticism to do that at a high level. So that's the thing that to me has really stood out. But Yahya Black, Derrick Harmon, those dudes interiorly in the interior part of this defense, they're playing really well. They're giving us a little bit more consistency down the stretch. And that's the same thing that we would talk about with Keeanu Benton. Benton is talented as heck. The knock on Benton is just, if we're going to have 10 plays, can you be the best version of yourself for the majority of those? He's been a little bit up and down at times the past year and past year and a half, but that's some of the things that, to me, Derrick Harmon being here, it put a little bit more pressure on him. It made him understand that we have other options. So if you want to stay on this field and get these reps, you can't play with high pad level because I have a Yahya Black that can come in here and play the nose guard. You can't play too high and want to be on your toes trying to see what's going on because I have a Derrick Harmon who's over here and he understands how to play low and get off that football. And Cam Hayward, that's the captain. We're not even thinking about him because he's just been a clear, to me, a nice vision of what consistency looks like and how to age at, the level that he's aging at. Is so smooth. Why? Because of his technique, because of how the little things that he does right every single time. So even though athleticism is fading a little bit, his little details and little focus on the minutia is why he's still able to play at such a high level.
And you go back and you watch some of the Steelers greats of old, like Mean Joe Green. He had to do the same thing. He was dominant for like 6 or 7 years. And then when he got older, he had a pinched nerve. He had some issues. So he had to come up with other techniques that were at the time unheard of, like things that we kind of, consider normal now with some of the different pass rush moves that are out there. He was coming up with them back then. So that's the stuff that Cam Hayward's doing. But I think that's the brilliant part and the brilliant opportunity the Steelers have right now is they have Cam Hayward still around to teach that to this crew. You guys, James Harrison, he went away, but he came back, but he was part of it. But Cam Hayward's a bit different than James. James is still the man. He's Debo, but Cam, he's that vocal leader that rallies everyone around him. And he's been the captain. He's been the voice. He's been the face. And I think that Derrick Harmon, when I talked to him at the combine, he said, that's who I idolize. That's who I shape my game after. I just thought, and that's a perfect fit, isn't it? And
you can see the similarities with how fundamentally sound he is. But I'm just so excited because to me, his athletic profile reminds me more of Tuitt. I'm like, yo, you got more of like that, like freaky athleticism. But if you compare that athleticism with the Cam Hayward, like just technician, almost, get the lunch pill mentality, that's the perfect storm. That was part of the knock on to it. It was like, man, great athlete, but not the most fundamentally sound. Right. This right here has the at least the potential to be something special if it can, number one, stay healthy, and number two, just continue down the path that it's going right now.
Absolutely. I want to get Moats' thought on the other side of the ball as well. We've seen work in the trenches to improve there. We'll get Moats' thoughts on the Steelers' offensive line and run game and if it can be sustainable. That's next here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. Chris Carter, Arthur Moats, stick with us. We'll be right back. But first, I want to remind you this show is brought to you by Prize Picks. The holiday season is one of the best times for sports, bowls, games, big basketballs, matchups, playoff pushes, and it's all happening at once. And while we're making choices every day, one of the most fun places to make the right call is Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the easiest way to get in on daily fantasy. Just pick more or less on at least 2 player projections and their stats, lock in your lineup, and you're in the game. It's simple, fast, and available in 45 states, including California, Texas, Florida, and Georgia. Creating a lineup takes less than a minute, and the app makes the whole process smooth and intuitive. You can choose from a huge range of unique stats, fantasy score, field goals attempted, free throws made, turnovers, whatever fits your strategy. The early payout feature is a great bonus. When your lineup starts strong, you may get the option to cash out early. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after your first $5 play. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. We're back here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. Chris Carter here with former Steelers linebacker Arthur Moats. He's back on this show. Arthur, let's talk about the Steelers offensive line and the run game and how it took off in this last game. 230 rushing yards against the Lions, 135 against the Dolphins. A big flip from the 34 they managed against the Ravens. The run game has been up and down this year. I thought it emerged against the Vikings when they got over 130 on them. They ran for 100 on the Browns, 147 even in the Bengals loss. And they ran for 186 on the Bears. But then you saw in the Bills it kind of disappeared. You've seen it dip here and there. They really didn't run the ball against the Colts. But it seems to me, and Mike Tomlin has sort of said this all season long, he said he liked the trajectory that they're on. He's like, hey, parts of young offensive lines, there's going to be ups, there's going to be downs, there's going to be, growths and regressions and everything like that. But he said, but in general, they've been pointed up. And right now, at least, seems like that is coming through. What are you seeing from this young offensive line that you like?
Man, first off, shout out to the youth movement. The Zach Frazier, Mason McCormick, love Mason McCormick. He's my personal favorite. If you don't know why, just watch him after a big play. He's Mr. Celebration. Love his energy. Oh my God, love his energy, man. But Troy Fautanu and company, right? That right side of the offensive line, to me, you can see where the investments were. You can see where those guys are just becoming more comfortable together. And I thought that was part of down the stretch while they've been playing a lot better, right? On the left side, we know there's been some injuries over there, and we've had to shuffle that around some. So we've seen the combination be, Broderick and Sayumalu at times. We've seen it be Dylan Cook and Sayumalu. We've seen Andres Pete and Sayumalu. Now we're getting Dylan Cook and Andres Pete. So with that, to me, a little bit of, their success has been part of who we're going against, right? Because we said with the Dolphins, I thought that the Dolphins defense as a whole, they play good, but in terms of what they were trying to do versus us, a little bit different, right? In terms of their approach. Same when I look at Detroit. Detroit, to me, man, I thought that they are built to play the pass, right? They're built to blitz you. They want to rush you with Aiden Hutchinson, but running at them is where they would struggle some. So when you look at, especially the 2 long runs that we had, it's following Dylan Cook and Andres Pete. And they're just literally winning one-on-one blocks. You switch it up on the second touchdown, and you bring Connor Hayward in the backfield, and it's literally just a lead week. But all of these runs are one-on-one blocking. The toss play to the boundary is, can you win your one-on-one? We think of one-on-ones as wide receiver versus corner. But the toss play, that's Arthur Smith's version of let me create one-on-one matchups for my tackle, my guard, or my center. And at least these past 2 games, they've been winning those matchups. It showed a lot more consistently versus Detroit, and part of Detroit, that's their game. And if you're able to actually connect and get those blocks, you can hit them, and that's what we did. Now, I think the real test to see how well our development has been is going to be this week, because to me, I think Cleveland plays a lot stouter versus the run. I think that they have a lot stouter defensive line, interior and on their edges, who we know what Myles Garrett is, right? So to me, this is going to be a good test to see, okay, has the other games just been, good matchup, or are these guys really turning a corner? But the trajectory as a whole absolutely has been pointed up, and it's been pointing in the right direction. At one point, we were concerned, could they pass block or run block? Now we're over here saying, yeah, we don't necessarily feel overly concerned when Aaron Rodgers drops back. we don't lose a lot of sleep or gain a lot of anxiety when he's throwing the football because we've seen them now protect him at a high enough level and a consistent enough basis. So now as I'm looking at this run offense, it's like, okay, well, at times we had questions about running backs. Are you hitting it the right way? We got the right personnel. I think we all feel confident in Gainwell and Jalen Warren's playmaking ability. And we even saw Jonnu Smith show he's also capable of taking toss plays and getting us production out of that. So now the question is going to be, can this offensive line consistently win a one-on-one versus this D-line that they're going to be going against this week? Because this will be their best D-line group that they faced in this 3-game span.
I agree. This is the group. The Browns right now have allowed the second fewest total yards in the NFL going into this week. They're the number 1 pass defense as far as total yards. Middle of the road against the run in general. But to your point, and we'll talk with Spencer German of Locked On Browns for Crossover Thursday for tomorrow's Christmas episode. But one thing he pointed out is that the lack of Malik Collins has left them susceptible a little bit more, and they've been getting run over more and more as the years continued. So this is another week where I think they can show their progress. To your point, is like, hey, queue up some matchups. And one thing I love, Arthur, and I talked to Kenneth Gainwell about this on Monday when we were back in the locker room, the different usages of the run game that Arthur Smith has done. When he has Kenneth Gainwell in the backfield in the normal 12 personnel package, and then all of a sudden Kenneth Gainwell motions out to the slot, Johnny Smith in the backfield, and then you got to be concerned about Johnny Smith getting the handoff because he can scoop. When he gets the ball, he's hitting the hole fast, and if you're not gap sound, he's going to hurt you. Oh, you're too focused on that jet sweep to Kenneth Gainwell. You know how fast he is, and now you're starting to stress defenses in unconventional ways, and those are things that I think good offenses do. And despite what everyone might think of Arthur Smith, this offense, the Steelers right now rank 11th in scoring. If you had told me that back in August, I would have said you're drunk.
Listen, this is why I enjoy talking to you, because you get it. You see the stuff, man. You understand. It's like stressing a defense out before you even snap the ball. Do you know how that is a win before the ball even snaps? If you as an offense can make me as a defender have to worry about your personnel group and now the alignment of it pre-snap, it's like, man, I don't even have time to get comfortable with what I'm trying to accomplish, because just based on what you said right there, right? Gainwell starting the backfield. Now you shift out there to the slot. Jonnu Smith, you could be out wide. Now you're shifting back there at the dot. As a defender, I have to wonder, okay, what's my matchup in terms of Gainwell? Am I a man? Do I want to walk out there? Is this the best matchup, or do I want to switch this with anybody? But also, if I'm switching that matchup, now if I'm the nickel or if I'm a safety, Jonnu Smith is a big guy. That is not a small guy. So now I even have to get my mindset, okay, if I got to tackle that, how am I hitting it? Now, if he's releasing out the backfield, man, what's the call defensively? Am I in blitz? Because if I'm in a blitz, now that might be my outside linebacker or DN, depending on 4-3 versus 3-4, that has to run with that guy now. So these are all the things that I'm thinking of or having to process before we even snap the ball, before we even get to, hey, actually when you're one-on-one. So that is absolutely what the best coordinators do in this league. They build formations. They give you a ton of stuff to think of. And then it's the lead week with Connor Hayward. It's the lead week, right? It's the toss. And then it's like, man, all of that. But that's how you turn, a regular play into an explosive play. And that's what you saw specifically in this Lions game.
I think so too. And I think if and one thing that Kenneth Gainwell, I asked him, I said, hey, like, how much of this stuff is just new stuff that Arthur's kind of drawing up week to week versus things that you guys have kind of worked on but just haven't shown in the game? He's like, oh no, we've been working on this stuff. It's just we haven't brought it all the way out yet. And if this is just the start of that, it makes me kind of excited to see, hey, what do the Steelers have keyed up? Because that can be something. And we're going to talk about the playoffs in a bit here, because the Steelers are one game away from either direction. They win a game, the Ravens lose a game in any of the next 2 weeks. Granted, they play each other in week 18. The Steelers are in the playoffs. They host a playoff game. But having new wrinkles to your team that you are excited about is often a factor that can really help you in those playoff games.
No, you're absolutely right. Shoot. Whatever happened to the 10 on 11 play? Do we still call it the 10 on 11 play? Or are we...
They call it the Spartan. They call it the Spartan now.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna say because I kind of like that as well, man. Like we just add more and more. And I'm like, okay, all right.
But I agree with you. There are things that are fun about this offense, but these are the things that I think are going to be really interesting to watch down the stretch for the Steelers. How many new wrinkles are added to this team, and how ready is this team to make a playoff push? We talk with a guy who's been pretty far in the playoffs himself. We'll talk about that next here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. Chris Carter, Arthur Moats. Stick with us. We'll be right back. Back here on the Locked On Steelers podcast, Chris Carter, Arthur Moats, former Steelers linebacker here. Don't cross the Moats. He's back on the show. Arthur, let's talk about the Steelers and their playoff hopes right now. And I'm not trying to get ahead of ourselves here. The Steelers have to make the playoff. They have to beat a Browns team. I also want to put this out there. There's a chance that we are recording this at 5:42 p.m. Tuesday afternoon. There is a good chance the NFL will give a DK Metcalf ruling after we finish recording this show. I'm not re-recording it. We're just going to roll with it. If there's an update, I'll give it to you on our YouTube page. And we'll do a short there on it. But let's assume that DK Metcalf doesn't play in this game, and they got to fight for it. They got to fight for it and win. But here's the thing, Arthur. I think this team, the way it's constructed right now, is the most dangerous team for the Steelers going into the playoffs since maybe the 2016 team that you were a part of that made the AFC Championship game. And not because I think that the Steelers are I don't think the Steelers have the killer bee super talent that team did with Antonio Brown. The great Le'Veon Bell got hurt in that AFC Championship game, and there were other elements there. But because I think this unit is clicking in a way, both units, the offense and the defense, are clicking in ways that they necessarily haven't shown consistently all year. And if I'm an opponent trying to study the Steelers team and I'm seeing, hey, these are the things I want to take away, but now I'm starting to say, wait a minute, the things that I thought I want to take away, they're doing other stuff. How do I adjust to it? That's the kind of stuff that can put you into the playoffs with a sort of fresh set of eyes to say, hey, we can hurt you in so many different ways. And that's what makes a team really dangerous in the playoffs.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, one of the things that Coach Tomlin always harped on, during our 4-year run together in that Killer Bee era was that, hey, when it's December football, you have to be a group on the rise. You have to get your hottest this time of year because this is when you're making that final push. You don't have a lot of opportunities to keep losing, right? We always say you want to have lost your last game by the time December 1st hits. We don't want to be dealing with that because this is single elimination time. You don't have time to worry about tomorrow. So when you're talking about this group and why this group does seem like they have the makings of something potentially special, it's because you're seeing that they're not necessarily dependent on one player to make the offense go. You can see how versatile it's become. It used to be, man, only worry about the tight ends. Now it's, man, which tight end? Because now you're seeing a little bit more Muth, right? Hey, they'll never throw it over the middle of the field. Well, we're starting to see them target that area. But now you're also seeing that, okay, we know you can get Jalen Warren the ball, but now we're seeing his explosive nature coming back. We knew Kenny G could catch and we knew he could run, but now you're seeing him being used a little bit more vertically down the grass. Aaron Rodgers, hold on. White cast on the left wrist, Aaron Rodgers, not the black cast. All right, white cast, Aaron Rodgers. He slings that rock more aggressively down the grass, and you can see his ability to also look a lot more healthy right now. Right? He looks younger. He looks like, dare I say, vintage? So those are some of the things to me that makes this team really scary. But the big factor is, as the guy just named, Aaron Rodgers. We haven't had that caliber player at the helm since Big Ben. And when we talk about the healthy version as well, now you really go back to 2016, 2017. So when I look at Rodgers and his ability mentally to make sure that they're always going to be right, we all saw the clip going around social media of him on the fly adjusting for Gainwell to say, hey, first go to the flat. You know what? Check that. Go all the way out wide to go vertical. Why? Because he's identified that I got man-to-man and I have a great matchup. And because he knows who he is and his God-given ability, he knows he can take advantage of that. That's a different level, right? When you talk about quarterback play, that's a different level. And that's the part that has this team also believing. And as a defender, your quarterback does matter. As a defender, okay, if I have a certain level of quarterback, there was no better feeling going out there as a defense knowing we had Big Ben on offense. Because it's like, man, we're going to play our best, but we know if it ever goes left, we got a guy that still is capable. And you just always have hope. And that's what you're hoping for. That's what you look for. You just give me a reason to believe. Every blade of grass. Why do we say that? It's hope. When we watched Patrick Queen make that tackle on the 1 yard line, why was it impactful? Because it gave the defense hope. I have another play to defend. And now the Lions start to mess up, right? Pre-snap penalty, another penalty. And then before you know it, we're getting up out the stadium, right? But it happens because of what? The hope, the belief that, hey, I can do this. So that's the thing that I'm saying with this team on offense and on defense. And we know outside of one blemish that I haven't seen happen in years, Boz is money, right? And that's the part that you just feel like you have a complete team right now, and a team that is understanding and a team that's responding to their coaches. Coach Tomlin, Arthur Smith, Terrell Austin, all three of those guys are very much connected and very much working together. And when we see what they're doing as well and how their units are responding, that's the other reason why you feel the optimism that we all feel right now, and why this team has been able to get 3 games in a row versus 3 teams that all had their backs against the wall and all had to win those games. These weren't, they were sleeping on us. This wasn't any trap game. No, this was your back against the wall, my back's against the wall. In the words of Coach Tomlin, 2 dogs, 1 bone. And right now, we done walked out of all 3 of those with the bone still, man.
And I thought it was really interesting when Mike Tomlin was coming off the field against the Lions. Brooke Pryor caught him in the clip where Brooke Pryor asked him, "What gives you the confidence, in certain situations?" And he said, 7 shots football. That's what.
Come on, man.
The Steelers.
Absolutely.
Mike Tomlin works very hard to create competitive situations because he believes that's how you're going to see guys grow into it. And it still requires the players to live up to it on the field. But what he did for you guys in the 2010s, what he does for every team that he coaches, he says, I'm gonna challenge you before you take the field to see, hey, what are you gonna do when it's on the line, when it's do or die, when it's win or lose? Where are you gonna be? How focused and locked in it? And you're gonna remember that feeling when it's time to actually be tested there. And to your point about Aaron Rodgers, man, I think he can make the world of difference if he comes in. I think there's so many times the Steelers have just been out quarterbacked in playoff games. The last time I think the Steelers had a quarterback performance that was better than the other quarterback was maybe when Ben Roethlisberger beat Matt Moore in the Dolphins in that playoff game. The Steelers have had like their only other win since that is that Chiefs game when
field goals.
It was field goals, and that was the day where Le'Veon Bell carried the offense. Alex Smith, kept the Chiefs in it. It was the defense and the run game that won them that game, and really the run game and the defense won them the Dolphins game too. When you look after the first quarter. But this could be something different the Steelers haven't had with Ben Roethlisberger in his last several playoff games, with Russell Wilson last year, with Mason Rudolph the year before that. This is an opportunity with Aaron Rodgers. They got to keep him healthy down the stretch here. And if this offense has new wrinkles for Aaron Rodgers to torture defenses with in the playoffs, and these guys are healthy, man, look out. This might be the most dangerous Steelers team to make the playoffs in almost a decade. Crazy to think.
Absolutely crazy to think. And shout out to 7 Shots Still Going, man. I literally remember in 2014 when he introduced that. We were probably like a couple games into the season. It's like, we got to start fast. We need more competition out the gate. And it's just like 7 shots. We're like, we just right here at the goal line, coach, just start with this. But it ratcheted up the practice so much because you don't warm up to anything. But at the flip side, you become so comfortable in those gotta have it situations. You become so comfortable in any part of the field. But even at the end of the game right there, when you talk about why he felt so confident, it's like, do you know how many reps we spend down just on that portion? And it's always good on good. We're not doing starting offense versus practice squad defense. No, this is starters versus starters. And then when they go, all right, it's twos versus twos, but we want the money. Like, it's that level. So that's a big reason why, man, not just Coach Tomlin, but even us as players feel so confident and so comfortable, even in the tight red zone, because we do this literally every single day.
Absolutely. He's Arthur Moats, former Steelers linebacker. Moats, thanks so much for joining us here on the
Man,
Locked On.
appreciate you. Appreciate you finally calling me back up, man. I was thinking my phone broke. I'm like, yo, I know I got the same number, bro. Like, what's up?
Get you on a lot sooner than we have before. In fact, I'd like to try to get you on probably again during this playoff push because I love getting your insights, man. You do a great job. Let people know they can find you, follow you, and get more of your work.
Yeah, man. So I'm on YouTube, man. Just type my name in, Arthur Moats. You'll see me. And then if you want any of my other real work, man, go to arthurmoats.com, man. The website has everything. And then, of course, on social media, I'm up there at TheBody52. Just type my name in. You can see me. I'm not hard to find, baby. Yes, indeed.
Absolutely. Moats, it's a pleasure, man, to have you back on the show. Again, we will get you on soon after. I wanted to ask you real quick.
Let's do it.
I mean, I didn't go great, but James Madison, baby. Like,
hey, look, they got the patch 2026.
Exactly.
Hey,
that's huge.
Come on, man. Hey, and Chris,
when you saw that name appear up on selection on that Sunday.
Of course, the pride was there. And even for all the naysayers, all the doubters out there, we covered. Just remember that, baby. Vegas ain't hit us. We hit Vegas. 17-point loss. Just throwing it out there. Okay. So, yeah, with that being the case, man, it felt real good. But from a historical standpoint, this is their third year at the FCS level, or excuse me, at the FBS level, right? 3 years with this transition. And you mean to tell me within 3 years, you've been to 3 bowl games, you've won 1 bowl game, and you've made it into the college football playoff within your first 3 seasons.
Pretty good.
That's
life.
insane, man. So to me, it's like, yeah, man, it's nothing, or what they say, there's no such thing as bad publicity, no such thing as bad press. So as much as they talked about it leading up to the matchup, even talk about it going into the next matchup, all right? And if they want to change the rules going forward, well, you know they're going to be talking about us again then as well. So we'll keep leaning into it, man. But like I said, was definitely proud of the guys, though, man. Like I said, from where they started to where it is currently, man. And now even the coaching that's going on. I mean, your current coach, or the coach before that, was, the guy at Indiana right now, killing it. Now you about to have another guy going to UCLA, but you reload that with Billy Napier. Like, This is a SEC coach of the University of Florida. Like, Chris, if I would have said, man, we're going to have an SEC coach replacing a guy at JMU, people would look at me like I was crazy. Like, was he from like 30, 40 years ago? It's like, no. Like, he literally, this is the next job he's going to, as like, yo, I got to get back on. That is also a testament to what this program has grown to. So, yeah, man, definitely, impressed with everything they've been doing over there right now.
Had to give you a chance to give your boys your flowers.
Salute, baby. Salute.
Man, thanks again to Moats for coming on the show. Thanks you all for coming on the show and watching us and listening to us, whether you listen to us on your favorite podcasting apps or watch us on YouTube. But my name's Christopher Carter. You can check me out on all my social media accounts. At Carter Critiques is my handle. I'm on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, wherever you get social media. That's my handle. You can read my work in the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette by going to post-gazette.com. I have a film study on the Steelers defensive front and how good that they've been, especially the youth movement that's been going on there to follow up this episode. So be sure to check that out in the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. And as always, you can find me here on the Locked On Steelers podcast every day, Monday through Friday, on your favorite podcasting apps and on YouTube. Like this video if you enjoyed. Subscribe to this YouTube channel to get all of our daily Monday through Friday episodes. Back here tomorrow with our Christmas episodes on Crossover Thursday with Spencer German of Locked On Browns. Keep it here with the Locked On Steelers podcast.